But you have to get on the table anyway.
Sorry, you guys.
I almost put your keys in here too. Grab them with the.
I would have been very confused. I was having a time.
Okay.
That's what I
I don't know if that sounds right.
Oh,
It doesn't,
wow, it doesn't usually sound like that.
but it's okay.
Is that
We can
better?
we can manage the sound.
Yeah. You can do this?
It sounds like, as long as it's a bird rate. Okay.
Thank you. So how was that for you? Let's talk first about the first your first activity, our second activity.
Big event.
Okay, the big event. Who delivered the big event? You did. How was that to deliver?
Coming back to the first thing that I said
Yeah.
about the silence, like,
Uh-huh.
but I think that also knowing that you guys know what's going on, like, I guess I'm not putting myself, like, I'm not really simulating it, like, 'cause I know that you guys know, so I think I'm just not giving you guys that time, but yeah.
You felt like you were rushing it at the
Yeah.
end?
Yeah.
So my guess is when you're in a setting where it is the adolescents, they're not going to let you rush it. So you're going to, again, you can be very conscious and very mindful about giving yourself that space and that time. And remember, they have to process this information too. So I think you're very aware of one of the things that you're going to be working on. Great. What else?
There were a couple nice moments in the way that this was organized where I could like kind of collect myself, like when they're doing the worksheet the first time and the second time I could be like, oh, what's coming, and I almost like forgot to repeat the whole thing. It was like, oh right, but it was almost like what you just said. They don't know what's coming, so I don't know. I felt like it was still okay to just kind of go with the flow and then eventually pick back up where I needed to be, and yeah, it felt more comfortable than this morning for me.
Felt more comfortable, so you're
Yeah.
gaining a little bit more confidence and comfort with how it flows and how it is delivered.
I guess, yeah, and also just realizing that the activities have a little bit of different properties in terms of how to space and timed too. Like this one happened to have a little bit of that space where you can.
Yeah, so I think that's really interesting. So some of these activities, you're going to have time to kind of regroup while they're writing something or they're paying attention to something else. You as the facilitator have time to step back and to really refocus on how it's going and how you're going to proceed with that. So that's a nice observation. How was it to be participants?
It was fun.
Some were putting on their evil teenager hats.
I would like to see Reagan, the evil teenager.
Not so evil,
Yeah.
but so one of the that can happen, right? Some of the sassiness can happen. So it's good to have that experience and to be able to know that you can handle it.
Trying to transition.
All done with the set.
What are some ways that we handle sassiness?
Find the truth in what they're saying,
Yeah.
or the what's universal. Like often it's truth in snark, and like find the truth below the snark.
Truth in snark.
Yeah.
I got a bumper sticker that says that.
For any parent of
That
that
is awesome. So so there's an element of truth in their snarkiness, right? So that's a really insightful thing to say, right? So they're coming from a particular place, and you, as a facilitator, can be mindful about whether you're latching on to their snarkiness or whether you're trying to find what they really mean by that. What's underneath that? Can you approach that comment with openness, non-judgmentalness, and curiosity in the same way that you're asking them to approach their experiences? So that's really nice.
Have you guys ever had the experience of like talking to teens outside of the group? Like if the SAS continues and it's a lot, or?
We honestly haven't really had much sass. More, some people will be like a little bit more disengaged.
Okay.
But no sass really. And when you have that disengagement, you just kind of, you'll invite them a little bit more, but also respecting that they don't have to do anything that they don't want to. So.
And I feel like this is some of the groups we ran with college students and grad students. We actually had some more. It wasn't snark as much as like resistance and vocal resistance, where I feel like some of the teens are more likely to think the resistance but respect authority to some extent. And again, just trying to normalize to some extent, like if this is hard, that and kind of find the thing in what they're saying that other people can really relate to, but try and just kind of unless it becomes an issue, but we've not had it become a problem. I don't know, Lauren, have you had any?
Well,
really
I think that
problematic?
this depends so much on the particular group dynamic, the teens that you have in the group and the population you're working with. So like in Campus Connections, you're gonna deal with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's gonna be, behavior management is gonna be something we're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna negotiate, right? What about for you, Vicki? I feel like we had a little different issues in some of the groups you ran.
I think for us, there were some teens that just like to pair up with one another and cause distraction. In that case, it was just like at the beginning of the next group, Shelly was like, okay, well, let's sit next to people that we've never sat next to before. And it kind of separated like our more tricky teens, and it made it a little bit more manageable that way.
Yeah, that's really nice. So one of the things that we do in here is we train on the program. We don't train on sort of those general group facilitation skills, and that might be something that we think about how to build into ongoing trainings and ongoing discussions, because those are really critical. You can really know the content and really know how to deliver the content and have a horrible group because of these group dynamics, and we haven't trained you in how to intervene in those group dynamics. So we'll be conscious of supporting that in the delivery. And again, it depends on the cast of characters that you're implementing. So that was my transition to cast of characters.
Well done.
And
Exceptional.
and how did implementation of that, practice of that go? Who did it over here? Emma and Vicki did it over there? Okay.
That was interesting. In the end though, I felt a little awkward. We were talking about it in our group about like the order of things and like where should I start, like where should I interject for people to all talk at once, or like giving the test, and it just kind of, I wasn't totally sure of like the timing of everything. I felt like, again, like a cast of characters in like a play where you have to have like everything kind of synchronized, but I felt a little off. I mean, that probably comes with practice too.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So how does it unfold? I mean, how did you orchestrate this cast of characters?
So I kind of did what you did, where I was like Megan was in the middle, and then we had the people, and they started talking, and then like individually, and then there was the test, and then they would all speak at once. And then Rachel was saying that they do it a slightly different way, but you give like the test, and they talk at the same time? Is that-
No, just that there's no talking before the test is handed.
Yeah, there's no talking before
So
the
like,
test.
hand out the test, start talking.
For the first time.
For the first time, yeah. But one at a time, and then let them do that one at a time for a little bit, and then I'll start.
Is that what's in here? It looks like maybe that's the way it's laid out.
And then Lauren was saying there was another way they could potentially do it where each of the thoughts come in at like a different time. And so there's just a lot of different variations.
So this is a good discussion, I think, because what would happen if the group was talking and then the test was given, or the test was given and then the group started talking? How does that difference in how you're implementing it influence the message that is taken away from the activity?
I think if the test is given before anyone says anything, the participant might have a chance to see what focus, like be able to focus for a moment and actually start to process, and then once people start talking, realize how much of a distraction thoughts can be.
What's the takeaway message from the activity?
Our concentration is really impaired by the chatter in our minds.
Concentration,
It's one of them.
the chatter in our mind influences our concentration, influences our performance. That's the essence of what we really have to focus on, right? So in my mind, if you ask them to start the exam first and then they start talking, it's going to have a similar effect on the bottom line, on the takeaway message. So in essence, the message that I'm trying to convey is there are going to be times when you might not follow the directions exactly as they are, but you're not going to influence the takeaway message, and that's what's critical. Okay? So, if you reflect and you find, oh well, I should have done it this way, but it doesn't really detract from what the message of that activity is. Don't let it worry you too much. Learn from it and then take it to the next one. Vicki, how was it for you?
It was good. Kind of, I mean, I have facilitated that particular activity before, but I think the part that I was kind of unsure about was at the end, like how long should I keep this going for? Where I had to like take a step back, but I think it's just kind of feeling it and waiting until you think that they really understand like what the point of the activity is. Like there's a lot of thoughts circling, us. And
And Vicki had to play two roles. She was facilitating and she was playing the role of
friend.
friend. So she was doing both. Other questions about either of those two activities? Okay. I think we're scheduled for a little break
We're
now,
about
but
20 minutes behind though.
We
so
are?
I-
Okay.
Yeah, so I,
I'm
yes.
looking at this, it says 2:45 to 3:10.
We're supposed to do small group practice and large group discussion for the next demo that we haven't done yet.
Oh, gosh.
So the next demo is supposed to start, we're supposed to start at 2:25 after a break.
I see, okay.
And so
We have.
I think we should take a quick break. My guess is we all could really use one, but then we shouldn't do a full 15 minutes and maybe like 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
And then come back and then do the next
Okay.
chunk.
Also, I have some chocolates if that would make your shortbreaking better.
That's very compassionate.
Yes, it would.
I'm gonna want chocolate today. I'm gonna like,
Oh, yes.